All right. Hello and welcome to I Am Fearless. I'm your host, Vickie, and man, am I glad that you decided to click and spend a little time with me today. Today's guest is Alena Leblanc, former designer and now personal stylist and founder of Leblanc label representing the Bay Area. Hi, Alena.
Hi, thank you for having
We
me.
love the Bay. Thank you for being here. Girl, I am so excited to have you here with me today. It's like having my own little piece of the Bay Area with
I
me.
love that.
So the Bay is like my second home. My daughter, who is now 15 years old, her name is Imani. She was actually born in Fairfield. And although I've lived in Texas for like 14 years now, I have found a reason to go back to the Bay every single year.
Oh, I
sometimes
love
multiple sometimes multiple times a year. Like I will find a way. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous there. The accessibility that you guys have to so many
that.
beautiful spots like Napa, San Francisco, the Redwoods, and even Tahoe. I mean,
Yes, you can go anywhere. You can go to the beach, you can go to the forest, like the mountains, the desert, everywhere.
everywhere. It's beautiful there. And probably my most favorite part about the Bay are the people. Because I love how confident they are in expressing themselves through fashion. And I personally look at stylists and designers as artists, but rather than working on a canvas, they have a person to display their work on. So,
Yes, I love that.
yeah. So, Elena, thank you for joining me.
Of
Thank you so
course.
much.
I'm so excited. I love talking
Yes.
with you, so I'm very excited about this today.
I love talking with you too. It's been so great meeting you and getting to know you and learning about what you do. And so my first question is, describe little Alena to me. Like, was she always into clothes and dressing up other people? What was she like?
So, I love this question. I feel like little Alina was very into clothes, like always into fashion. I would always try different things. I had this chartreuse green raincoat I used to wear and purple sunglasses that were really fun. But I would always make my friends dress up with me. So if we had like a sleepover, I'm like, oh, we're doing dress up. We're playing dress up. My aunt has a huge influence on me, but she used to have a bin of clothes at her house, which now I'm like, it makes sense, but they were like 80s club clothes and lingerie that I would put on. They were like sequin and lace and sheer, and I would love wearing those. So it makes sense that my style is very flashy now.
What is your aunt's name? We got to shout her out.
My aunt's name is Rhonda, and she's
Shout
amazing.
out to Aunt Rhonda.
Yes,
Oh my gosh, how fun is that, girl? She would be my favorite aunt too.
yes.
Like, that is so cool. So besides Aunt Rhonda, what do you think called you to this field of work and like how did you get started?
So it's very interesting, actually. Both, like, my mom is very creative, but both of my grandmothers, so my mom's mom and my dad's mom, they were always like artistic, could draw, everything. But my mom's mom, my granny, she always wanted to be a fashion designer. And it's so funny because I found that out when I was older, but she used to sketch these beautiful fashion drawings, but she ended up just staying at home with her kids because she had six kids. And at the time, it was like that's what most of the women did, was stay home and take care of her kids. But she would sew all of their clothes. She would sketch these beautiful sketches, which I love, and I have her artwork hanging up.
Oh my gosh.
It's wonderful.
You have to share some of that with me because
Okay.
I would love to see that. That's so cool.
It was amazing. And it was just really cool because she took like these drawing classes when she was in high school. She had my oldest aunt when she was really young. And so she would bring her to the class and they would draw her too, like my aunt. So she has these beautiful drawings of like kids' clothing she would design on for my aunt. She had all of these really beautiful sketches. And my other aunt, my Aunt Rhonda, she gifted me her portfolio one year that she had found. She put all these sketches together, and it's like so special. So I decided to frame some of the pieces.
Oh my gosh.
I
I
love it.
I love that. So it's like you were meant to be
Yeah.
a designer and in fashion.
Yes, even
That's so
so
cool.
I used to always want to be a fashion designer. When I was little, I'm like, that's what I want to be when I grow up. And I think after graduating high school, I didn't really see that as an option. I was kind of like, oh, what am I going to do? I don't know. I didn't feel like that was a real career I could pursue. So I went to a junior college and I just got my like AA there. I was playing soccer. I've played competitively my whole life. So for me, I'm like, okay, I can play soccer here, I can go to school. And then at some point when I was there, I was offered to go play in, I forgot what state it was, but it was a different state. And I'm like looking at their programs, I'm like, they don't have a fashion program. And I know that's really what I want to do. So I ended up checking out the Academy of Art University in San Francisco with my mom at the time. And we were on tour there, and they showed you all the buildings and all of these tools that they have, like all of these screen printing and sewing labs and drawing classes, and their library is extensive. And after our tour, we were in the elevator, and I just looked at her and I'm like, this is where I need to be. And
Oh,
we had a moment where we both started to tear up, and we're like, this is it.
oh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so cool. So, okay. Wow. So you're in I'm like I have like goosebumps now because that sounds so special because so many people they get deterred by what everyone else thinks
Yeah.
about their career choices and I mean and for you to be there and feel it and say no, this is where I need to be. That's so cool and it's so beautiful that you were brave enough to follow that intuition and actually make make that your path.
Well,
That's
thank
great.
you. I think a lot of that has to do with too, like my mother and father have always been so supportive for me and like such big cheerleaders, and they've always encouraged me like do whatever you really love. And it was so helpful to have that like behind me this whole time. I mean, even when I was so stressed at school and I was like working full time, going to school full time, commuting, I there was times where I just wouldn't even sleep because it's just so much work. And I just remember they would be so encouraging and so supportive. I,
Wow.
I'm I'm so grateful. I'm beyond grateful.
Wow. There's a quote that I have to share with you, and I forget who says it, but it says, "Happy is the man or woman who can make a living by his hobby." And
Yes,
so, like,
I
doing
agree.
what you love is so important.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that when you do decide to do what you love, everything else will fall into place
I
for
agree.
sure.
It can be scary at first, but it's like
Terrifying.
yes, you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, but if you just do it and continue doing it every day, then eventually it all pays off.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna make me emotional because I am a mother and I became a mother at a very young age and so from 19 years old I never really felt like I had an opportunity to choose what I wanted to do. I always felt like that I just had to get it
Yes,
done. I had to work. I had to produce. I had to just make money, and that had always been my driving force up until this project. This is the first business. Thank you. This is
that's
the first business.
amazing.
Yeah, this is the first business that I've started where I am doing it because I really enjoy it, and I am getting so much joy from hearing you. I mean, we're only 10 minutes into this interview, and I'm already about to start crying, but I'm getting so much joy from hearing about you being able to say, no, this is what I want to do, and I don't care about how it may turn out. This is what I'm passionate about. I think that's so good, and that takes me to your mission statement. And
wait,
and your
really
mission.
quick, I just want
Okay.
to applaud you because you're setting an amazing example for your daughter right now too.
Oh gosh.
And I think your like love and light shines through so much. So I was
Oh
so
my
excited to
gosh.
do this podcast with you. And I feel like it's like everything is always works out as it's meant to be. And I'm very grateful that I met you because, yeah, you are a role model.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I I think what it is that I've just finally put down all of my fears and said that this is me, and I want to share who I am with the rest of the world. And I think that God puts it in us to be shared, and just like He put it in you to share everything that you do with the world, you know. But
I
thank you
agree.
so much for that.
Of
Uh,
course.
oh, I could hug you, girl.
I know.
Oh my gosh. But your mission statement is so good and so beautiful. I'm going to share it with everybody. It says that you help to create wardrobes that represent the client, to give them the confidence they need to take on the world and not take from it. Please tell us what you mean by that.
So I think women put so much pressure on themselves to be a certain way when it's like what you said. It's like when you step into who you're meant to be or what you're meant to do or who you're meant to serve, then that confidence flows to you. So for me, I'm so lucky that I get to help women embrace that and embody that, like that person of who they want to be and how they want to show up as. And that's really the basis for everything that I do. It's really starting from a place of not just, oh yeah, let's go buy that shirt because it's cute. It's how do you want to show up and how do you want to feel? And then the other side of that is the last part, which you said is good for you and the planet, is
Mm-hmm.
because I do focus on sustainability in my process, and it's so important that, like with a background in the fashion industry as a designer, you see how much product is wasted, and it's honestly terrifying to see people do fashion hauls where they're just buying a ton of product, and it's product that can only last one or two times and then it's just thrown away because those items don't just disappear when you get rid of them. They're still out here in the planet and they're piling up somewhere. And so for me, what I want to do is help create wardrobes that are really intentional. So that feel how you want to feel when you put on your wardrobe. Like, I want to feel successful, confident, sexy, amazing. And I want everything that I wear to represent that. And I like to help women feel that way too, because it's so important to show up. There's so much, I think there's a lot of hard things going on in the world. And for me to even help a little bit to help women feel good is so important. And then to also look to see by helping them create intentional wardrobes, they're not just buying to buy, they're being intentional with their purchases, who they're buying from, and investing in items that they're going to wear well, more, like so many different times, and that feel like how they want to feel. So it's not just buying to buy, it's really intentional. So you're not creating more waste. I try to show people how to mix what they already own with new pieces to create a very cohesive wardrobe for them that feels really good.
Wow. That's so great that you know what, and this whole thing about fast fashion that you've now educated me on, and in the waste, I'm going to be honest with you, it's something that I don't even think about. I don't
Yeah,
even
I
think
think
about it.
I think most people don't, and they just don't realize. But after, like, I mean, I've seen it, and I've done a lot of research around that too to see, like, there are treaties that countries have that they're like, oh, we'll just ship this all off to Africa, and it's not going to be any of our problem anymore. And you see the waste there that's just piling up in these places. It's insane. And for us, we think like, oh, we're just going to buy a shirt because it's cheap and like, oh, we can wear it one time and be done. But it doesn't just dissolve. And I think
Right.
for me, I try not to like push sustainability down people's throats in a way that's like, okay, please, I need like a break. I just want to help people be more intentional, which in turn translates into them being more sustainable anyway.
Right. No, that totally makes sense. So, Alena, what did you get your degree in exactly? Because you're so educated on sustainability and like, so what's your background in that?
So I have a bachelor's of fine arts degree in women's
Hmm.
wear design. But to be honest, they didn't teach us anything about sustainability in school. And now it's really wonderful to see because all of these art schools are really trying to educate people on that. So, for instance, the Academy of Art, I went to their fashion show in the spring and it was amazing because all of their collections that the graduates showed were all sustainable collections. So they were made out of either sustainable fabrics or like found items that they had repurposed and redesigned. So that was really amazing to see.
Wow, that is so cool. Okay, and speaking of repurposing, uh, we're going to talk about how you repurposed all these skills that you acquired and how you were working for, you were designing for Latote. Did I
Yes.
say that right? And then you also worked for, what was the other company's name?
I
Um,
worked for Third Love, which is a lingerie
Third Love.
company. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And so tell us how you went from working for a company to creating your own company.
Okay. So, uh, been an interesting story, but I
We
have
got
always,
time.
yes, I've always been into fashion design, and that's why I was like, this is something I want to do to use my creativity, and I knew I wanted to help women feel good. And so after after going to school, I started working for Third Love, which is a fashion tech company, but it's a lingerie company. And I have to say, I think their products are amazing, and I do recommend them to clients. And my I feel like everything does happen for a reason. So I ended up leaving there, going to a very small niche company called Marge. And then from there, I went to Latote. And at Latote, I was able to gain so much incredible experience because it is a fashion subscription company. And so what that means is they were able to collect so much data from customers. And that's data I would never have seen in a typical design job. And I've learned from that about fabrics and like wearing over time because they're things you don't really think about typically. You normally are like, oh, well, this sold really well. We'll just produce it again. But for us, we could tweak certain things for measurements to fit better, to change the fabric content or the fiber content to hold up better over time. So I learned so much from doing that. And I actually designed for, we had 12 private label brands, all with different aesthetics. So I designed all categories for all the brands. So tops, dresses, pants, outerwear, sweaters. And it was so much fun because I had so much variety. And typically, if you're at a large corporate company, you're designing one category of one item. So I would be designing woven tops. But for me, I was able to touch all of these different pieces, different aesthetics. It was great because you do get to use your creativity in different ways and thinking about who the customer is for each brand. And so I loved that. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, our company ended up filing for bankruptcy in, I believe it was March of 2020. And I just remember being so scared. Like, I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Um, and no one was hiring fashion designers because there was so much supply chain issue. There was no production coming from China or overseas because of the pandemic. And I was in a position where I just was so low. I had no clue. I was like, I'm a fashion designer. That's what I am. I don't know where I'm going to go from here. And I'm so lucky and grateful that I have my boyfriend who is an amazing human being, but he he told me, he's like, you're not just a fashion designer. You can do anything that you want, and you're so capable.
Oh.
And so at the time, I'm like, no, I can't. I'm like, I'm a fashion designer. That's what I do. But he's like, that isn't who you are. He's like, you can do anything that you set your mind to. And I know people probably hear that and you're like, well, yeah, sure, whatever. And that's how I felt at the time. But I just started playing during the pandemic, and I was like, I'm going to start just drawing more. I'm going to start painting. I'm going to start sewing again. I learned how to reupholster a chair. I learned some carpentry, but he was like, you can do whatever you want. And so I ended up styling, and I would go into my friend's closet and I started working with just what they had. And I was helping them create different looks with items that they already owned. And then what I would do with some of their really sentimental and special pieces that they weren't ready to get rid of, I started to redesign them. So, for instance, one of my friends had this really beautiful printed, like knit top that was her grandmother's. And she was like, I don't want to get rid of it. But it was a women's extra large when she was probably a women's small. So I'm like, well, you can't wear this. It's way too big for you. So we talked about ideas what to do with it, and I ended up turning it into a bodysuit, which was so cute, and she looked amazing in. And it was just so fun that she got to have this special piece of her grandma in a way that she could actually wear it. And it was like the best feeling because you get to see how happy she is to have that. And so I just started using what people had and playing with that, and I just had a lot of fun doing it. And after a while, I was like, okay, like I could do this. The reason I wanted to be in fashion design was to really help women feel confident and feel really good. But styling and using more of what they own instead of just buying all new products, I was like, okay, that's also helping me become more sustainable. It's helping them become more sustainable. And it is using my creativity in a very different way. And so I think in September, I was like, I'm going for this. And 2020, I was like, you know what? I'm filing. I'm for a LLC, and I'm just going to do this. I don't know what to do. I have no idea about the business side, but I know I want to help women, and I know I can do it.
Wow. Oh, I love your story so much.
Thank you.
I love your story so much because there were so many people who lost their jobs, and in that time they literally did not know what to do, and they were frozen with fear, and I love that you picked up what you could and decided to walk forward. I think that, and this is exactly, these are what you just said are the exact types of messages that I want everyone else to hear, because I think it's so important to get on the other side of that fear, because on the other side of that fear is exactly where you are supposed to be. It's something waiting for you there. And I think that is so brave and so admirable of you to use what you have and create something new.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It is scary, and it's like,
so scary, girl.
It's going to have to be scary, and you're just going to have to go with it. And I have this affirmation that I always say, that my impact is far greater than any fear I have. And so I'm like, even if it's scary for me, if it can help people, then it's worth me feeling a little scared and doing it anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the help that you're offering other people it's like it's feeding you too. Like you're getting something back from it. Like that story that you just told about the bodysuit. It's like it probably did so much for you in the beginning that you weren't even aware of, that helped propel you to keep taking more steps forward, you know? Yes. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So how important do you think confidence is to women in business nowadays?
I think it's so important. And I'm very, like, I would say I've always had a lot of confidence because my parents have really instilled that in me. My family has instilled that in me. And I realized that's not that common, and which is very unfortunate. But seeing women struggle with that and seeing a role that that plays in like who they're attracting as clients, who how they're setting their pricing even, it's like they're not feeling fully worthy of that yet. So even by shifting a little bit, like by showing up and feeling good in your clothes, I see the impact that can make on so much more. And so I'm like, even if I can help people just feel good when they put on an outfit and they can look in the mirror and say like, damn, okay. Then I'm like, then I feel like I'm doing my part because already by that you looking good and then it translates into you feeling good. And then you get to carry that energy forward into everything that you're going to do. So you get to, if you're creating content, if you're showing up to give a speech, it's all of it can seem really scary, but if you start from a place where you feel good and you feel confident in yourself, that can propel you forward.
Wow. That's, man, that's good. That is so good, and it's so true. Wow. That is so true. Because yeah, I think confidence is something that a lot of women struggle with. I mean, and social media definitely doesn't help. And I don't want to always blame social media or, that sort of thing because
Yeah.
we had these problems before social media even existed,
100%. And well, it was like you see magazines, you see TVs, you see ads, and it's so much more than that. But for me, I'm like, I don't want people to look like someone else. I want you to look like the best version of yourself and
Mm,
fully embrace that. Embrace your body. Like, I talk about this a lot, but I'm like, your body does so much more for you. It's time for you to appreciate it. Instead of saying, oh, in 10 pounds, then I'll like invest in my style and invest in myself. Like, no, you deserve it now. You don't have to wait for 10 pounds more to feel good. And I think a
wow.
lot of women don't even think about that. They're like, oh, when this happens, then I'll feel good. And instead, it's like, no, you do not need to wait. You can feel good about yourself right now, every single day, in every situation. And it's, but and I think a lot of women put a lot of pressure on themselves to just look a certain way, or get ready and pull it together when in fact they've never done that because they don't know how to do that and they can't put that pressure to expect it to be to know how to do that already. So
Mm,
it's practice, it's experimenting, it's playing with your style to see what feels good on you and to have fun in that willingness to be open to try new things too, because that's what's going to make you feel confident is trying things. And when you find something you like, you're like, yes, this is it. This feels so good.
yes. Wow. That's wow. You just hit on so many different things that I think are so important for women because I mean, even with my friends, sometimes they're like, "Oh, but I'm not full," and I'm thinking to myself, "You are gorgeous."
Yes.
But I can say it all day, but you have to. You really have. They have to, or the person, whoever it
Yes.
is, you have to feel it, and it's a deep felt feeling. You have to feel that you are confident, that you are worthy, that you are beautiful
Hmm.
just exactly the way you are, and be grateful for your body because it has carried you through this entire life, and
Yes. 100%.
it has done a thankless job every day, and so like appreciate it. No, I think that that's
Yes.
absolutely beautiful.
Thank
So
you. I think for me too, I started to like shift my mindset even when, so I was telling you I play soccer and
mhm.
I tore my ACL. And then when I did that, I had surgery and I'm like, oh my God, you don't even think about how much your body does for you. And after that,
Wow.
I'm like, whew, I appreciate being able to stand up. Like I appreciate to be able to walk around and it's like, your body is something that should really be adored and instead you're just using it and not thinking about it. And so it's like stepping into like feeling good, what looks good on you, what makes you feel really good because you deserve it.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I have a couple more questions for you. You
Okay.
ready?
I'm ready.
Girl, because you killing it. You are killing it. I'm like, I feel like I'm listening to a motivational speaker right now. I'm like, I want to go home and look at my closet and be like, okay, Vickie, how we're going to power up today? Shit. I
Yeah.
love it.
I could talk about this all day because it's just something I
Same.
feel so passionate about, and I think it's really necessary. And I think some people are like, "Oh, it's kind of frivolous to invest in yourself," and there's all of these outside voices that you're hearing, but it's like, no, you should feel good. And one of my best friends does hair and makeup, and she is all about that and embracing your natural beauty, which I love. And her and I could talk about this for weeks, just nonstop. But it's like women deserve that. And
Absolutely.
and especially, I do feel like there's like so much pressure, and a lot of women are like, oh, well, I don't want to look a certain way and I don't want to come off a certain way. But it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you feel really good, that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
I love flashy things. I love wearing metallics and sequins and sparkles, and I wear that during the day, and I don't care because I feel good.
And I don't care. I know that's right. Who, like, mind your business. Mind the business is paying you. And let
But
me
I
live
think
my life in these sparkles.
exactly, but I feel like that translates into what I do, and it is translates into who I attract, because there's people that aren't going to love me, and that's okay. But there's people who are going to be drawn to me because of that. And I love using clothing as a conversation starter too. But I think people will come up to you and be like, "Oh my gosh, you look so great," or "I love that coat," and it's something unexpected that they don't see all the time. But it's like, really quick, a small short story, but during the pandemic, I was like, I'm going to design this like fun dress to make people smile, because people are going through a lot right now. And I designed, it was like this rainbow striped like shirt dress that was so fun. And I wore it with my silver booties in my little pink metallic bag. And I even did a matching mask that was in this rainbow stripe. And I wore it out, and I got so many compliments. And I was like, oh, see, it's just making people feel good to see something that's in color that makes them feel happy. So I'm like, this is for me, but also you're welcome.
You're welcome, y'all. Hell yeah. Girl, I love you. I, you know what? I say you're welcome all the time, and no one's around, but I say it. I'm like, you're welcome. Like,
Good.
yeah. That is so great. I love that so much. So, Alena, what does success look like to you?
Let's see. I have so many things that it can look like, but for me, it's really freedom, creativity, adventure, fun, impact, making, making or bringing positivity, light, support to others. To me, that's successful. And to be able to enjoy that with people that you love, like doing fun things that make you feel good. I feel like it's so much. Like, success means so much to me. It's not just like, oh, this is going to be like a certain number in my bank account. Like, yes, bring in all the funds, but I want to be able to use that to do good things, to help people, to explore, adventure, have fun, and just enjoy my life.
That's beautiful. I always those kinds of questions. Well, that question in particular will be one that I will always ask my guests, because
I love that.
I think it's so important for all of us to have an individual idea of what success looks like, and follow that individual idea, because that's being
Yes.
true to yourself.
I
So,
love it.
yeah, and one last question. What
Okay.
is one piece of advice that you wish someone had given you at a pivotal point in your life, or when you were younger, when you started your business, just at a point to where you realized, like, oh, I wish somebody would have just told me this.
Oh, that's really hard. Can I tell you can I tell you
Yeah,
something someone told me that's always made a positive impact and I think has propelled me forward?
absolutely.
So growing up, my dad would always say to my brother and I, "You were born to be great." And I feel like now I think about it and I'm like, I've got you. I can do that.
Your parents, by the way, your family, your parents sound like amazing people. They've done
They
an
are.
amazing job with you.
Thank
They really
you.
have.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
They
And my
filled you up
brother.
with.
My brother's a great human too. So
Shout out to big bro or little bro.
yeah, my
He's
little brother.
yeah, he's a little younger, but that is I mean that they should be very proud because they have filled you up with so much confidence that you are now pouring it into other people.
Yes.
So
Thank you. That's what I love that. I'm so grateful for that because I do, yes, I'm like, I feel like very full of confidence. And if I can help women feel confident and help them show up and feel really good, then I feel like that's what I'm here for. Like,
wow,
I think that's why I'm put on this earth is to really help women feel confident.
wow, wow, Alena, wow. I want to thank you so much for being here today, and I love. Oh my goodness, I can't even recap because my mind is like just I'm like, girl, I have to like I cannot wait to rewatch this
Oh,
and get all of those nuggets that you were dropping about confidence and investing in yourself and the importance of feeling good and how you can show up when you do feel good and how important it is and also the sustainability factor that you brought in and repurposing not only your skills but your clothes. I mean, it was just you you killed it with so much. I mean, just great information and yeah, I am so grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful that I met you, and I'm so glad that you agreed to be a guest today on I Am Fearless. So before you go, would you please, please, please share your information? Tell us where we can find you.
okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I've had so much fun, and I know I talked about all different things. I couldn't stop, but I am so glad that I met you too. And I'm very thankful to share this. And even if one person listens to it and makes them shift their mindset a little bit and feel really good, then it's 100% worth that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram name is Leblanc underscore label, LEBLANC underscore LABEL. And my website is leblanclabel.com. And I'm the most active on Instagram, definitely. So if you want to reach out, send me a message. I would love to talk.
Wow. Yeah, you guys, y'all have to find her. You gotta check her out. I think she can rework some stuff for you, and I mean, have you stepping out feeling like $1,000,000, girl?
Yes.
No, absolutely. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. This is Vickie and Alena encouraging you to love everything, everyone, and most importantly yourself. Thanks and take care.
Thank you.